Welcome to the Books Bible Study, where we are reading all of the Bible, the 66 books of the Bible. Tonight we are on Exodus chapter 17. Verse 1 reads, Then all the congregation of the children of Israel set out on their journey from the wilderness of Sin, according to the commandment of the Lord, and camped in Rephidim. But there was no water for the people to drink. So the children of Israel left Ramesses, which was in Goshen. And so, even though Goshen is a region, right, in Egypt, Pharaoh had given it to the Israelites. So they lived mostly by themselves, and were able to keep their culture and their religion. But Goshen was still ruled by Pharaoh, right, and a part of Egypt, but the Israelites were separate from the Egyptians. So after Ramesses, they first camped at Sukkot, right? Then Atham, which was at the edge of the wilderness, and then Pi-hahiroth, which was near the Red Sea. After the Red Sea, they were in Marah, right, where God turned the bitter waters sweet. And then next was Elim, where there were the 12 wells and the palm trees. And here they are leaving the wilderness of Sin, where God provided the quail and the manna. They're headed towards Rephidim, right? So verse 2 says, Therefore, the people contended with Moses and said, Give us water that we may drink. So Moses said to them, Why do you contend with me? Why do you tempt the Lord? So the reason why there's a water issue, right, is because they are in the desert. They're in the wilderness. But even in a dry place, even during famine, God provided, right? God showed himself to be exactly who he said he was. Verse 3 says, And the people thirsted there for water, and the people complained against Moses and said, Why is it you have brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? Hey, Sister Brenda, good to see you. Verse 4, So Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, What shall I do with this people? They are almost ready to stone me. So we see that there is this constant distrust, and not just Moses, they're not trusting him, but they're also not trusting God, even after he'd done all of these miraculous things, right? So now Moses appears to be complaining to God about them, right? Verse 5, And the Lord said to Moses, Go on before the people and take with you some of the elders of Israel. Also take in your hand your rod with which you struck the river, and go. Verse 6 says, Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. Verse 7, So he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah because of the contention of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, Is the Lord among us or not? Before we judge them, right, how many of us continue to question God, right, instead of questioning our faith in him? So if he said he's going to be with us, his word is higher than his name, right? Verse 8 says, Now Amalek came and fought with Israel in Rephidim. And Amalek is the grandson of Esau, right? So the Amalekites are technically cousins of the Israelites, right? Because Esau and Jacob were twins. So in the midst of them arguing with Moses and having these contentions and stuff about water and if God is with them or not, now they have to fight their cousins. Okay. Verse 9 says, And Moses said to Joshua, Choose us some men and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. So here we see the first mention of Joshua, right? One of the Bible's famous warriors. Joshua is a descendant of Joseph, right, through his son Ephraim. Verse 10, So Joshua did as Moses said to him and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. Verse 11, And so it was when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. So the victory depended upon Moses having the stamina and the strength to keep his hand up, right? Verse 12, but Moses' hands became heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. So here we see God aligning Hur with Aaron to assist Moses, right, to make sure that the Israelites obtain the victory. Verse 13 says, so Joshua defeated Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Verse 14, then the Lord said to Moses, write this for a memorial in the book and recount it in the hearing of Joshua, that I will utterly blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Verse 15, and Moses built an altar and called its name, the Lord is my banner. So if you are keeping up with the names of God, this is another name, El Nisi, which means God, my banner. And a banner is what is used to announce victory, right? It's also used as a symbol of trusting God to cover you in whatever battles you may be in, right? You want to be under the banner of God. Verse 16, for he said, because the Lord has sworn, the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. So in this chapter, we're introduced to Hur and Joshua in the first recorded battle since the Israelites left Egypt, right? And so we'll hear a lot more of Joshua, right? He has his own book in the Bible. And Hur we'll hear about when Moses go up on the mountain later on in chapter 24 to speak with God. So that concludes chapter 17. It was only 16 verses. If you are not following along with us, it's better for us to do it together. It's not as tedious as you may think it is. And it's exciting to know what God has done for his children because he is the same God, right? So there's all sorts of situations in the Bible. I believe any situation I've ever had, I found it in the Word of God. And so you find the solutions as well. And you also see yourself in some of the things that is going on with the Israelites, right? And so right before you're getting ready to say, why would they do that? You have to take a moment to think, oh, wait, I've done that too, right? And we see how it doesn't work. It does not work or benefit us not to trust in God, right? If we could remember that he is the same God, he's not changing, and that he's also just, right? It will prevent us from going the way of disobedience. Okay, so the children of Israel are not easy people to lead, as you can see. So thankful that God has Aaron there to help Moses, but he's also enlisted Hur as well to help. And so this kind of gives you a structure of leadership that sometimes we want to do it all, right? But God will align and send people to help us, right? Help keep our arms lifted, just as Aaron and Hur did for Moses to make sure that they obtained the victory. So to God be the glory. I will see you all next time for Exodus chapter 18. If you need to catch up, go back, look through the videos. They're not long. We haven't gotten to the long chapters yet. So I really want you to get the background before we get like to the longer chapters or even to the names, because in those places, if you don't have the background, you'll probably try to skip it, and we don't want to skip it, right? We're not skipping the names. We're going straight through it. Because you'll see some of the names that we're talking about. I feel like if you know the background, you're a little bit more interested in kind of sticking it out as we go through some of the longer chapters, right? Because you're invested, okay? So God bless you all, and I will see you all for Exodus chapter 18. God bless.